What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Credit Plug channel. So I wanted to piggyback on this conversation about what's going on in the Black community at large when it comes to wealth attainment, when it comes to social economics, home ownership, credit, wealth. Black people are at the very bottom of the economic totem pole. There's a report that's out, and mind you, this report has been out since 2017. It's called The Road to Zero Wealth. What this report found, it examined information and data between 1983 and 2013. Yeah, so around a 30-year period where they were basically just looking at the statistics and the data that they got their report from was U.S. Census Bureau survey of income and program participation. And so pretty much what they did, they were able to calculate middle class wealth. The biggest key point or silver lining to come out of this report is that they're predicting by 2053 median black net worth will be zero. Middle class net worth is defined as a net worth of 68,000 to 204,000. They even had predictions on 2024. So they said by 2024, Black and Latino households are projected to own 60 to 80% less wealth than they did in 1983. And they also said the white households will own 99% more than Black households and 75 times more than Latino households, right? And here's another interesting stat, right? Between 1983 and 2013, the wealth of Black and Latinos decreased by 75%. Black and Latino households are worse off than they were in 1983, which was a very long time ago, right? That's 41 years ago. At the time of this report, it was about 30 years ago, when this data was gathered, right? This sort of goes back to the observation that I've made as a Black finance creator. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped all the content on my main channel, right? Because my audience, for whatever reason, kind of morphed into this subprime, low income audience. There's just certain characteristics and behaviors from that social economic class that is detrimental when it comes to wealth building. And I'm just talking about attitudes and social norms and behaviors that are preventing those people from escaping from their economic situation, right? Now, this is an observation that I made, right? And I talked about this, how a lot of Black people are more interested in these shortcut and, quick and easy fixes to get access to capital, which are extremely short-lived. A lot of these people are not looking to build businesses. They're not looking to build their skills. They're really not looking to advance their economic status in any meaningful way, except for shelf corps, CPNs, trade lines, anything that is construed as a shortcut, right? Now, this report, right, and let me just remind you guys the name of this report. So this report is called The Road to Zero Wealth. It was published in 2017. It talks about the wealth divide and how the middle class is being hollowed out. And it goes a little bit more than just, Black and Latino. It talks about the middle class overall, how the middle class is being decimated. And basically how in the future, it's just going to be very poor people and wealthy people. Now, I don't agree with everything in this report, particularly when it comes to the recommendations on what the solutions are. And basically what the solutions that are proposed in this report is to pretty much tax the wealthy people, right? Tax the wealth, guarantee jobs for Black people, create these different social safety nets. But it doesn't talk about anything about entrepreneurship. It doesn't talk about owning businesses. It does talk about, just sort of the disparity in sort of home ownership and how they could sort of evolve the mortgage industry to be more inclusive of Blacks and minorities. But it doesn't really get to the core root of this wealth gap, right? And it's a fact when you don't own anything, you're not going to be able to build any meaningful wealth, right? And in my opinion, and this is coming from somebody who was born into poverty, born into Section 8, born into low income. You know, my parents didn't have any businesses, any assets to pass on to me. But in my 36 years on earth in America, I've been able to transcend that poverty level, right? In the way that I was able to do that, you know, there's a couple different, ways. I would say education first and foremost. I do have to give credit to education and being able to, get a good paying job and having a career. Ultimately, that allowed me to save money, to be able to experience home ownership, and eventually created sort of a foundation for me to then transition over to entrepreneurship. And now, what's kind of striking about this report is that so far, this report is spot on and pretty much what they were predicting was going to happen. And mind you, this report came out 7 years ago. And so far, what they've said is spot on. It says by 2053, the median net worth of Black households is going to be zero. I'd actually say that it might reach that point before 2053. And the reason why I say that is because the Black culture is detrimental for wealth building activities, right? And this is something that I observe just as a finance content creator, a Black finance content creator. I've been able to observe a lot of people's behavior. Now, one thing that I think is a big indicator of this is this reluctance of conforming to the business world, right? Or the business environment. And what I mean by this is this lack of paperwork, or, how a lot of Black people run away when it comes to paperwork. Now, if you're starting a business, if you're trying to get money from the bank, if you're trying to purchase real estate, if you're trying to purchase businesses, if you're trying to set up a private equity fund, or if you're trying to do something when it comes to formal economics and business, you have to establish paperwork, right? There's no way around it. And what I've noticed is that in the Black community, a lot of people are not trying to conduct business in a formal way. And I always talk about this, homegirl, homeboy business, handshake business, not formalizing business, right? And this is detrimental because if your paperwork is not right, you're not going to be able to get loans from the bank. And I know there's this whole thing, people shouldn't be getting into debt. People shouldn't be bootstrapping anything. Here's the thing. Look at any successful Fortune 500 company right now. None of those companies grew to the size that they are. And let's just say Fortune 1000 companies, unless they raise money, borrow money from the bank, whether that's equity or debt. You don't bootstrap your way to, tens and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, right? Because you need capital to scale. That's just a fact of the matter. And again, I don't want to deviate from the main conversation of this, but you do need capital to grow. You do need money to make things happen. You do need money to have some type of motion, whether it's your own funds, whether it's credit. You need money to make things happen in America, to acquire assets, to get businesses off the ground, to just live your basic life, right? So however you want to look at it, you need some money to make things happen, right? And so the key point with getting access to money from the banking system, you need proper documentation and paperwork. And the biggest thing that I see from the Black community, and again, I've been able to gather this insight and anecdotal evidence from just my encounters with a lot of Black people, is that a lot of Black people don't like paperwork, right? A lot of Black people want to do business without a business checking account. A lot of people don't want to fix their credit, right? So that they can get access to financing. And then also too, certain levels of financing, like you need to build prerequisites, right? You need to build credit history. And so that's not just going to happen overnight. So you have to set up a foundation very early on, and then over time build on that foundation to then be able to unlock higher levels of finances.